You got an ID?
Nah, pockets were empty. No wallet, no keys, no jewelry.
We figured a robbery gone wrong.
This wasn't a robbery.
It's raining men.
Castle, what are you doing here?
Don't worry, we're still mad at him.
Kind of tree, mom and dad bickering. Seems like old times.
How's it going up there?
I got tree branches poking my boobs and spotlights shining up my booty.
Could be worse. You could be wearing a skirt.
When I come down, I'ma smack you.
We're looking forward to that.
Here. Vic's a white male, late 30s. Judging from the cracked branches, I'm guessing he did a Superman off the top of that building.
Vic's name is John Allen. ID has him on the Upper West Side. Business card has him in insurance.
Is it a suicide? It's not a
suicide.
How do you know?
This looks just like
The Arctic brochure Fletcher handed out. You said Sue made this?
Yes, she's a graphic artist.
How long has Sue known Elise?
Oh, I don't know. A year, maybe?
Sue is Fletcher's partner.
Is the undercover leprechaun. Sue is the scout. She gets close to Elise first, learns everything there is to know, paving the way for Fletcher.
Who comes in with a playbook of all of Elise's hopes and dreams, and voila, it's love at first sight.
No. Something doesn't quite track. Why would they fake Fletcher's death in such a public way? They had to know the police were going to get involved, exposing their con to a lot of dangerous scrutiny.
Unless Fletcher really is dead. If her dad is right and Fletcher really fell in love with Elise,
And was going to give up his con man ways.
then Sue stood to lose a fortune by not finishing the con. And if Fletcher married Elise, then Sue had no chance of pulling off the con on her own.
So Sue takes matters into her own hands. She kills Fletcher, shooting him in the face, making sure positive ID is impossible.
Bingo.
But what about the phone call from Stephen?
Well, she must have faked it somehow.
Why?
Because the con is still on. So, Buckley is investigating Danton's call girl ring. When Danton discovers that Buckley's brother-in-law is a client, he sends a message. Back off or your family gets hurt.
And then when Buckley doesn't back down, Danton kills him.
So how do we find Danton?
We talked to one of the call girls.
Because as a murder mystery novelist, I'm highly paid to think like a bad guy. Here are a few fun facts about snakes. They are cold-blooded, they swallow huge amounts, and they digest their food very slowly.
Perfect for smuggling.
And it wouldn't be the first time. If these snakes are coming in from South Africa, there are two things in abundance in South Africa: racial hatred and diamonds.
Smuggling diamonds in live snakes.
Mickey's attacker said that there were millions at stake.
And the dumbwaiter goes right down into the pet store. That's why the Maitland's trip had to be this week. They knew the shipment was coming in. And then the ketamine
Was to dope the snake so they could take him up the shaft without a fight. And then when we came to the store,
The owner couldn't say a word, otherwise he'd implicate himself in smuggling.
so we find out who robbed him.
We find a third man.
They know they're finishing each other's sentences.
So, plates, paper. There's only one missing ingredient.
I know who the killer is.
Let's go.
I knew I had to tell Len before somebody else did.
Len must have been very angry when you told him.
Very angry and jealous. But I had followed them and found their secret spot. And I told him where and when to find them. I even lent him some of my equipment so he could spy on them himself.
So Len goes to the park and he sees for himself.
And then he confronts them in a jealous rage and they kill him.
They do what now?
They kill him. The cheating girlfriend and the lover.
What are you talking about?
What are you talking about? That isn't Christian Doll.
It looks just like him.
Dummy. Not you. In the cockpit. They switched out real doll for a dummy doll. Magnus didn't build a triggering device for an explosion. The arm he built was for doing the pre-flight check. The whole thing's an automaton. That's the magic trick. He made it look to the world like Christian Doll was still on the plane, the same way Tobias Strange made it look like he was still in the cabinet when the swords went in.
And then he used a catering box to get the dummy on board and Christian Doll off. Then who's piloting that plane?
Christian Doll. Only not from the cockpit. He had it rigged to fly via remote control. See? Zalman puts the box in the van. There's probably a console inside there linked to the plane's avionics. Doll takes off remotely, flies out over the Atlantic.
And then he detonates the explosion, and everyone thinks that he's dead because everyone's seen him on board.
Only Doll is very much alive, and there's only one person in the world that knows it.
Zalman. And as long as he's alive, he's a threat to Dahl.
So Dahl has to tie up that one loose end.
But he can't risk anyone knowing that he's still alive.
So Dahl has to kill Zolman himself. I was hoping you'd still be here.
I was just about to call you. I
think
think I know
who
who the killer is.
Joe's cyanide-laced coffee cup. CSU found both Joe and Wardell's prints on it, but there was something very important missing. Cyanide.
Really?
Really.
Well, how was he poisoned?
During the autopsy, I discovered cyanide residue in a prescription time-release capsule.
So Joe had a prescription for cyanide?
No, he had a prescription for corticosteroids. According to his physician, he took one every morning for symptoms from lupus. It looks like the killer switched out the contents of Joe's capsule and replaced it with the cyanide.
Okay, so then when Joe was taking his medications, he unknowingly poisoned himself.
But here's the rub. Since the cyanide was in a time-release capsule designed not to dissolve in stomach acid, but in the intestines.
Our timeline is all screwed up.
Yep. Turns out Joe was poisoned almost 1 hour before his death at 8:13 this morning.
That's before he even got to the courthouse.
Which means the killer probably wasn't there either.
So then Joe's death might not have anything to do with the trial.
Well, we learned 3 very important things. Firstly, our killer is diabolical. You let someone unwittingly kill themselves? Pure evil. Second, our killer knew Joe, or at least knew his habits. Third, our killer was a woman. Statistically speaking, poisonings are almost always carried out by the fair sex.
But you are missing one very important detail, Castle.
Enlighten me.
Our killer had access to Joe's medications that he did not keep on him, so therefore our killer had access to
His apartment.
Bingo. Okay. Take a look at this photo. There's a shoe next to the car, and look at what kind of shoe it is.
That's a T-strap. You don't think.
If Vera was at the club that night, she'd be dressed in an elegant dress
And heels. This isn't Vera, this is Sally.
Yeah, but it can't be Sally. The bartender said that he saw her months after the murders. Unless...
He lied?
That was over half a century ago. Why would he lie about that?
Beckett, I just realized something.
Huh?
I can't give you anything but love.
What?
That's what was playing when we interviewed the bartender.
Right. Right. He said that that was the best version of the song.
It was Louis Armstrong's version. In Joe's diary, he says his favorite performer is Satchmo. What's Satchmo's real name?
Louis Armstrong.
Put it all together. The answer is clear. Here is Odette doing her community service hours for her second DUI in 2010. Here's Odette at a bridal shower with friends.
So?
So according to the timestamps, these photos were taken on the same day within 20 minutes of each other.
So it was really Barbara at the soup kitchen.
Odette would do the crime, but she didn't want to do the time. So she created a faux debt to do her dirty work for her. A job that I bet paid very well. Maybe a wild night on the town brings Odette to the strip club where she sees Barbara, all of Barbara. And she realizes with a little work, Barbara could be the perfect double for her, doing all the unpleasant jobs that Odette simply couldn't be bothered to do. Community service hours, drug tests.
And with a little training and some surgical tweaks, Barbara could do even more, like meetings with Odette's business manager or warring luncheons with her Aunt Margaret.
Nobody in Odette's inner circle could have known about the ruse, so that when the train crashed, Barbara saw her chance to go from understudy to leading lady, and she took it.
Okay, so that explains the transition, but we still don't know who killed her.
Maybe we do. It would have to be someone that knew Odette was actually Barbara when he saw her on TV. Someone who was looking to cash in on her new life.
Someone like Barbara's boyfriend, Jason.
I'm telling you, this is crazy. I didn't kill anybody.
Mission accomplished.
Right. He didn't say he actually stole anything. The mission was to make it look like a robbery.
And the best way to make it look real, to fool the police and the insurance company,
Is to actually break in yet steal nothing. And Helica set this whole thing up.
and the only other person that knew was Wendell.
She couldn't afford to let him or his sister expose her secret.
I call that motive for murder and probable cause for a search warrant.
Wow. Good work.
Thank you. Yeah, but why did it come to us?
Universe has a sense of humor, I suppose.
No, I mean, if this is about meth, then why wasn't he killed in New York?
Maybe the killer likes the beach.
No, I think there's got to be more to it, Castle. I mean, they knew about Lerner's boat.
You know what? I'm sure the boys will figure it out.
And that requires an intimate knowledge about Franklin's life. That's local knowledge.
Right. Well, maybe the killer just did his homework.
Yeah, but why would they go to all of that trouble? I mean, if he was a kingpin in New York City, why would they kill him out here?
Unless part of the drug business was out here.
That explains the helicopter. He needed the helicopter to transfer the drugs out here.
And why he slept with Natalia and greased palms?
He needed an approval to get the helipad.
Yes, much less risky to move your product in a helicopter rather than boat or car. No cop is going to pull you over.
You know, Chief Brady said that the drug problem's doubled over the past 6 months.
Exactly. When Franklin started using his helicopter. The safe is locked. She got it to hide something. Come take a look. I bet whatever Hawk was after, it's in there. A place she knew would be safe and knew no one would think to look for it.
Which means it's still in there. Is there an override code?
Whatever's in there is the reason why she was killed. Thank you.
Castle, this must be worth millions.
Tens of millions. Looks like diamonds were our girl's best friend.
That Yavapai word has two meanings, remember? What if the peacocks didn't stash the gold near a river? What if they stashed it near a stream?
Castle, look at these maps from Whitney's research. In 1893, there was a small stream north of the river, and then in 1920, it was dammed off.
Wait, that means all those years, everyone was looking for the gold in the wrong place.
Stone was deliberately infected. The CDC confirmed that someone turned his asthma inhaler into a virus delivery system.
Question is, who came up with that idea?
Well, the answer's got to be connected to this lab that Paul was investigating.
I think it is. Becca, take a look at this. The lab from which the virus went missing, Latham Pharmaceuticals, they're the same company that makes the vaccine that Espo and the others got.
Which is why they had samples of H5N1 in the first place.
Right, but as part of his investigation, Paul was looking into production orders of the vaccine, specifically this one, for 10 million units of the vaccine.
Castle, there were only 1,000 reported cases of H5N1 worldwide.
So why would Latham suddenly order up 10 million vaccines?
Unless they knew that there was going to be an outbreak.
I think Paul was asking the same question. You're doing great, honey. Not to rush you, but...
Wait a minute. Something's not right here. How did Peter reach the vent from inside the cell? It was a two-man job.
Two prisoners escaped, but only one was missing, which means
The killer came back.
Since when does heroin look like that?
Since it's synthetic heroin, an opioid manufactured to replicate a heroin high. In fact, this stuff actually improves on it, because according to the analysis I ran, it's laced with TTX.
The same poison that almost killed me? What, heroin isn't dangerous enough?
Because that poison works by blocking synapses. In small doses, it's a powerful analgesic specifically used for the pain of heroin withdrawal.
So it makes the drug more addictive by reducing the painful side effects. So more addictive heroin that doesn't have to be smuggled into the country
because it can be made right here in the good old US of A.
That explains why the triads and Horatio are willing to put their differences aside, because synthetic heroin could be worth billions.
What does this have to do with me? Why would anybody want me dead?
Well, clearly this stuff is made in a lab somewhere, and your job is to inspect laboratories, so...
You know, this shade of yellow looks very familiar. What is it that gives it this color?
An inorganic catalyst, commonly referred to as LAH.
Lithium aluminum hydride. That is the same chemical that spilled when I was inspecting Xantium labs.
This is why they wanted you dead.
When the synthetic heroin hits the streets, it'll come out that it was made with LAH.
And since you knew the lab had purchased large amounts of LAH...
They couldn't take the risk that I might see something on the news, put the pieces together, and report it to the authorities.
Which means...
Someone at Xantium Labs is trying to kill me.
Oh my gosh, is that what we sound like?
I certainly hope not. I mean, it was cute, but just over.